Hello, geometry students. We're continuing to work on section 8-6, which deals with law of sines and cosines. And today our focus is on word problems. Let's review the law of sines. You already have that on your paper. Right now, pause the video and write down when you would use the law of sines. All right? The law of sines is used when you have an angle and a side opposite relationship going. What I mean by that is, if I know this angle and I have the length of the opposite side, and I know this angle, and I'm looking for the side opposite, then that would be an angle and a side opposite relationship. So you have an angle and a side opposite, an angle and a side opposite. Law of cosines, I have two of them written there. You need to know the patterning on that. You won't be given that. In the law of cosines, pause the video and write down when you use the law of cosines. You use the law of cosines when you're given three sides and you're looking for an angle, or when you have two sides and the contained angle, that would be the angle between those two sides. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these word problems. We have a maps problem. Three cities form the vertices of a triangle. The angles of the triangle are 40 degrees, 60 degrees, and 80 degrees. The two most distant cities are 40 miles apart. How close are the two cities? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a mile. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can have the drawing done correctly. All right, so I'm going to have a triangle, and I'm going to have a 40-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and an 80-degree angle. The two most distant cities are 40 miles apart. Okay, I need the cities that are farthest apart. How am I going to know which is going to be the longest one? My drawing is not accurate. 80 is the biggest angle, so across from that is going to be the largest side. So 40 miles is going to go here. I am looking for how close the closest cities are, the smallest distance. So my smallest side is going to be across from my smallest angle. So I'm looking for this angle here. Now the question is, am I using right triangle trigonometry? Am I using law of cosines or law of sines? I have an angle and a side opposite type of relationship going here, people. So I'm using law of sines. I'm going to go sine of 80, and then the side opposite would be 40. I'm looking for an angle of, I have an angle of 40. I'm looking for a side. So I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply. 40 times sine 40 equals sine 80 times x. You want to get x alone, so divide by sine 80. So now x equals 40 times sine 40 divided by sine 80. Go ahead and punch that in your calculator, people. I'm getting 26.1, approximately. All right, now we have to write a sentence. Remember, I've been focusing on that in our lessons, and we want to communicate our mathematics. And so the two cities closest to each other are 26.1 miles apart. I'm not just writing the two cities are 26.1 miles apart, but I'm explaining which two cities they are, people. You need to communicate clearly. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Why don't you pause the video and go ahead and try and draw your own triangle after you've read the problem. The problem reads, two cars start moving from the same location. They head straight, but in different directions. The angle between where they are heading is 43 degrees. The first car travels 20 miles, and the second car travels 37 miles. How far apart are the two cars? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. When you're problem solving, you may have to read the problem more than once. So if you need to pause the video and read it again, go ahead. When I first did this problem, I had my two cars, here they are, and then I had them going this way at first. However, the angle is 43 degrees is what that means right there. So this is not right. I got a 180 here, guys. So I'm going to erase that. They're heading in different directions, but the angle between them is 43 degrees. The first car travels 20 miles. So this is my first car. He's going 20. The second car is going 37 miles. Make that one a little bit longer. That's 37 miles. The question asks, how far apart are those two cars? So now I'm looking for this. Okay, so now I need to decide, am I using right triangle trigonometry? Am I using law of sines? Or am I using law of cosines? I don't see a right angle here, so I'm not going to use right triangle trigonometry. Where's my x? How far apart are the two cars? There's my x. Do I have an angle and a side opposite relationship going here so I could use law of sines? Some of you might be saying, yeah, I think you do, Mrs. Hefty. I have this angle, I'm looking for that side. But I need a second one, people. I don't have another angle, so law of sines is not going to work. I'm going to have to use law of cosines. So I need to know this pattern. I'm looking for x, that's the side. So x squared equals the other two sides squared. So I'm going to take 20 squared plus 37 squared. Then it's minus. 2 is just part of the equation. Usually somebody will say, where did the 2 come from? It's part of the equation. Then the two things that are times by the 2 are the two sides that you have used on the same side of the equation. So I need the 20 and the 37. And then cosine. Remember, the angle is the angle across from the x. So across from the x is 43 degrees. Now, you can type all of this in on your calculator, people. My calculator is going to do all of the order of operations for you. X squared equals, take a minute, punch that in. I'm getting 886 point, I can't read my writing, da 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 da. Okay, so now at this point you need to hit the square root button. And I'm getting 26.2, approximately 26 and 2/10. And then I need to write my sentence. The two cars are 26.2 miles apart. So tomorrow when you come to class, The focus during the class time will be working on word problems that use law of sines and law of cosines. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.